everybody. This is Patti Negri. Welcome to the Witching Hour. Yes, that hour of the day when the veil is thin and magic happens. We have some Hood Witch magic for you today. I have Bri Luna, the creator of Hood Witch. She is dedicated to empowering, educating, and cultivating community through meaningful rituals, supporting self-care and wellness. She's known everywhere in all the big publications and is author of this amazing book, Blood, Sex, Magic. Thank you so much for coming on. I got this in the mail. This is a beautiful book and so different than like any other book, literally, because it's like not a scrapbook, but this is you created this, right?
Yes, you pretty much you nailed it. The inspiration that I had, obviously, like in putting this book together, I did want it to feel like a scrapbook. That's the exact word that I said. I was like, I want it to be a collection of memories, inspiration. I want it to feel modern and ancient and all of those things combined. So on top of being like half grimoire, it's autobiography, but there's so many spells and bits and pieces and components. So it's not just like one straight thing where you're just like, okay, here's this book and I'm just browsing through it. I'm a very visual person. So that was incredibly important to me to put that
That is
component.
beautiful. Tell everybody if they don't know what Hood Witch is.
The Hood Witch was and still is a web-based platform and community. I started my own website. I just celebrated 10 years in November. And so I wanted to create a community where I felt represented. So I started doing launched Hood Witch 10 years ago. And really at that time, for a woman of color, I am Black and Mexican. I didn't really feel like I fit into I guess at that time, what was which culture or what was pretty popular. And it was always primarily focused on like Celtic tradition or Wicca. And I didn't necessarily grow up in that tradition. So I wanted to feel like I can create a space that felt inclusive, one that felt very much, I guess, geared toward, I wouldn't say like people of color, but yes, I wanted to feel inclusive and having a safe space where you didn't feel othered and we can come together as a community regardless of what level of experience you were in your practice or your craft or your tradition to really come together. So I started one of the first like private witch communities and it was called Abracadabra and it had over like 50,000 unique users, okay? And this is even before like people were like making apps and now it's like everyone has an app for everything. And
Right.
I was like, why didn't I make it? Why didn't I do that? But anyway, it was a really great space. So I was doing pop-up markets where I sold my teas, my crystals for people who remember me from 10 years ago. I sold crystals at just local pop-up markets. I was reading tarot there. And it was just a lot of fun. It wasn't so much about creating content or putting everything like as a content, as a whatever. It was just more so about embracing and creating community and meeting new people. And so that was it. Like the Hood Witch really started very, I would say, like in real life was very, I don't want to say like brick and mortar because I never had a store, but I was
Mhm.
known for being at these pop-up markets and doing the tarot readings and selling my crystals, my teas, my herbs, all of those things. So it started as that. And then just the content that I was sharing on platforms like Instagram and Tumblr at that time and Pinterest and all of those things. So really putting together contemporary art with witchcraft, modern witchcraft as we know it now.
Yeah, it really is beautiful. So tell us about your path. Your path. Were you born into this belief system, this witchcraft, or is it something you developed? You're very gifted off it. Was it something you
So interestingly enough, yes. Yes and no. So it's yes in the sense that magic and spirituality and spiritual practice was already within my bloodline from, both of my grandmothers, one being from the South and she grew up in Texas, Louisiana. So all of my dad's side of the family, my black side of the family is from the American South, like the deep South, Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana. And then you have my mom's side of the family, and she's Mexican. And so both of those cultures are already very richly spiritual, two very strong spiritual influences. So I think that those practices to me, when I was younger, I wanted, I guess like how I want to explain it was like when I was a kid, it was magic and witchcraft to me. It was when I saw in books. So I was in love with just the occult, and I was in love with like esoteric books and practices and tarot and magic and finding that for myself. So I really went through this path of my own journey of like self discovery. And then when I got pregnant with my son, really connecting back to my grandmother's traditions and spiritual path, be that with hoodoo and like folk magic and like Santeria. So it's like all of these things that I once really shied away from because I thought my grandmothers were just superstitious. But then it's no, like that is your inherent like birthright. This is the practices of like our indigenous medicine or African magic and things that I've like historically been more demonized in, like, Hollywood, and it's not was never really such a big thing in, like, popular culture.
It's beautiful. Again, so other than this beautiful, very, again, artistic, almost scrapbook, pictures, things all put together, what is the book about? Does the title scare people or entice people or probably both?
I
Blood,
think
sex,
you know
magic.
what, but, like, being a witch, you know already, we like to scare and entice.
Yes, we
So
do.
I'm like, scaring and enticing is exactly, like, what I want to do. And that's just inherent. But I think that with blood, sex, magic, for me, it was one, it was funny because when I initially created that title, it was cheeky. It was like tongue in cheek, just very, ooh, I'm gonna make a book that's like blood, sex, magic. And I'm like, these are the things that my clients come to me for anyway, where it's you want sex, you want magic. Maybe there's a little blood involved. So it's one of those things where I wanted the title to be captivating and interesting, and that's what it became to be, but then it started to get broken down into 3 different components, which was the blood, not so much literal, but we think about our ancestral lineage, our rooting, our backstory, so blood, sex, magic, what it's about, it's like my progression in my journey. It's these are bits of memories. These are pieces of memories. It's not really a linear story. So if you're looking from a point A beginning to end, you're not going to get that. It's very much non-linear. It's like just these components and pieces of magic and bits and stories. So they're essentially a collection of memories.
It's beautiful. So you work with people individually, you
Yes.
work with people in your clientele that is great. And the book, I think, is doing great. Anybody I because I see a lot of people I run about people and people come over and say they see this book and they want this book and they've heard about this book. So congratulations on it completely.
Thank you.
What was your inspiration for it? Being a practitioner is one thing, and I get with Hood Witch, again, you've created this whole other thing. Anyway, was the book just the next step?
Interestingly enough, I never really thought of having a book. I knew that it was coming. It's so fascinating because I was going through my old journals last night and I saw my to-do list that I made. I'm a lister. I love writing things down because I'm a firm believer that once you write it down on paper, it becomes real. It becomes no longer just this abstract concept in your mind. It's like you've put it into a tangible space. And now you see it.
The list,
Yes,
yes.
being the lister, I have to see it. So I think it was really funny in 2013, I went back into a journal and on the list it was like, I want my own studio that has this type of walls and I want it to have hardwood floors and an old building. And I got that. So that happened. And I was like, I put book question mark, like making a book question mark. But that was in 2013. So now
Mm.
fast forward, we're 10 years later and it happened. So the inspiration really behind it was I want to take these ideas and these visuals. That book is a visual representation of what is inside of my brain on a daily basis. So it's again, I am very visual and my mind is very much collagey. And I don't know how to explain the words like collagey, but it's I see things like even if you look at my Instagram, I love contemporary art. I love art in every almost every form. And that's so represented in just my storytelling. And it's important for me. I love symbolism. So I think, when people see symbols or archetypes, when you look at these things, it really taps into a deeper recess in your mind. So if I'm telling a story and I'm giving you this symbol or this image, it's easier for you to connect with that. And I think that's a form of magic.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I do work with symbols and sigils and things.
Mhm.
Again, that's why I just fell in love. I just related right to everything I've seen so far. What do you think people get most? Again, I've got new listeners and things like that are going, "Not sure about this witchcraft thing." What do you think that people most get misconceptions about what we do and how we act?
I think the biggest misconception is that we're evil. Some of us are, and that's fine. I'm not, and I think it's just there is no real one size fits all. You can't generalize every practitioner of witchcraft or magic under one umbrella. And I think that's really important. I think it's equally as important to connect to witches who resonate with you and their practice and their ethics and aligning yourself to someone who feels right and whose spiritual message, or not, it doesn't have to be spiritual, even their practice aligns with your values. And I think that's important. So the biggest misconception is that we're like crazy, that we're charlatans, that we're just trying to take people's money or cause harm, or, inherently, I think that people still feel a fear of that we're evil. And again, just like with everyone else, you can go to a Christian church, you can go anywhere in any spiritual tradition, and there are going to be people who fucking suck. But excuse me,
Oh,
but it's you can't just blanket statement a one size fits all. So that is a big misconception.
and I do think that's getting better and better with the good and the bad of everything from social media to witch talk to all of it. At least it's opening up.
I
But
agree.
what I love about what you is that your message is really about empowering.
Mhm.
Uh, me, that's very much what witchcraft. It's an empowering belief system. We don't give away our power to some other God. Do what I say, not what you feel. That being part of your message, empowering and educating, because don't you find people just give away their power?
Yes, and I think even as like women and women identifying people, we have been programmed to perpetually give away our power and energy and to be constant givers and givers. So I think that the archetype of the witch in and of itself is that this is this wild force, right? Where you're not going to be controlled. You're not going to be told what to do. When we think of the witch, we think of, again, this force of just wild rebellion where it's just like, no, I'm not submitting to you. No, you're not going to make me believe what everyone else. And that's why everyone wants to persecute and kill you because you say, fuck no, like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not going along blindly with this.
Right.
You're not going to take my money. I can be sexually liberated. I can be powerful. So I always think that the witch is put into this category of the bitch. Okay, sorry, my the landline. Should
That's okay.
okay, should we like
Oh, it's good. Yeah, no, and I love that, and I do think that's what's about. If somebody's just getting started and trying to take their power back or learn a little bit about witchcraft besides getting your beautiful book, my little book, Is there any, like, regular practices or rituals or anything that has helped you in that empowerment process or being awareness process?
I think one of the biggest and most empowering things, and I always tell this to baby witches and even my friends who are just too much people pleasing, I will say that no is a spell. No is a complete sentence. So saying no, don't give away your energy. And that's something you can do on a basic level, on a very and you believe it or not, how many people find that to be so hard? And I'm like, I have no problem with turning down a lot of things because even with my book, I said no to 11 different publishing companies before I said yes because it didn't feel right for me. It didn't feel like the right time. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel aligned. It didn't feel right. And I think that so many people just go with the flow of things, even though intuitively they're not listening to their gut or their instincts, and they end up getting in a lot of trouble for that. So I will say no as being the spell and telling people, no, I will not accept this. No, I'm not doing it. No, I'm not going. These are ways of reclaiming your power, even on the most basic level of like your mundane life and your magical life.
I love that, and I love that it's a spell and a complete sentence. I'm gonna borrow that. I'll give you full credit. I will give you full credit. What are some of your in working? Because you do ritual, you do magic, what are some of your favorite either tools or do you work with herbs or oils or colors? What's some of your favorite practices?
I love candle magic. My partner laughs all the time because what is the candle budget for today? And he knows it's like, oh God, because I'll come home and I'm like, I'll go to it just I love going to I love going to different magic stores or supply warehouses or botanicas, or if I'm in Mexico, or if I want to go to the magic store. I want to buy every candle I love candles. So I have an entire cabinet full of them, every color, shape, form. I love them. So candle magic, I love. I love oils. I love perfume, making my own body oils, like perfume oils. What else? I love like herbs. So yes, I will buy them, but I've gotten better with like weaning myself off of buying so many herbs. I actually started my own garden last summer. So I live in a space now where I actually can have my own garden. So I started growing my own sage. We have lavender, we have mint and rosemary. So I made a proper witch's herb garden. So now and it was so fun because I grew my own tomatoes. We had chili peppers. So it was really cool. And it feels so natural to me. And my garden really, really flourished. It did such a great harvest for summer.
And doesn't it feel that those products that you make yourself are that much more magical
Oh,
too?
yeah.
Because you planted them, the seed, the little plant, the earth, the growth. You are part of that entire process. The intent you're putting in while you're planting them and begging them to grow.
Yes, and I love them so much. I, like, talk to them, and I have a whole like, my partner, we always joke about this, but he's like, "You're the neighborhood Snow White, like, you really are." I have a family, I had hummingbirds and squirrels, I have birds that come in the backyard, and I built my own solar-powered, water fountain for the birds. So, and I always joke about this, but I am so convinced that I do have fairies that live in my backyard, and they're so happy. I put crystals and really large crystals that I set for them. And sometimes when I look in that back garden, I don't know if it's from the crows, but they love like little shiny bits. So they'll bring me and leave in the backyard like little shiny pieces. And I'm like, I didn't put this here.
It's the fae. It is fairies. I am a fairy girl. I have a big yard too. It's a fairy garden. Invite them in and they leave things, they move things, they play with things. They might use a crow to move them or not.
I
Doesn't
don't
matter.
know, I'm like, but I really tend to my garden, and I really tend to the animals and the plant life back. So it feels so good, and I feel like they're happy. We have a big tree, and there has a big hollowed out hole in it, and
Mhm.
I always joke, and I'm like, "That's hey, like, that's their fairy house."
Well, I'm sure it is. Watch out, they live at the edge of day, edge of night, edge of the garden, edge of the path. A couple years ago, my husband and we I like to give them gifts. It was Beltane Eve, so fairy night, May 1st. And we're gonna make these little wishes. They had 6 little cups, and we put half dark honey and half cream in each one with a wish from world peace to a new car, everything. So they all looked like cappuccinos, 6 of the exact same little cups of things in the shape of a daisy. We made our wishes, we talked to the fae, we went upstairs. I went down in the morning, 3 just had cream and 3 just had honey. I'm like, "That's a fairy trick." It's no one went down there, nobody knew we did it. I was in Ireland last year, they literally picked me up and turned me around without me moving my feet.
Oh my
Yeah, I don't think you're weird at all. I don't even understand people who don't see the fairy world,
But
yes.
I just love them, and I love having them in my backyard, and they really, I feel, appreciate me taking care of all of the animals back there. Like, the first thing when I wake up in the morning and I have my coffee, I'm like, "I gotta go leave my peanuts. I have to go put their seeds," and I'm like, "Oh, no, their house is empty, like, they need things," so I always go and I'm always taking care of the garden, taking care of my babies.
Oh my god, we are the same. Me too, we go up to Lake Hollywood and feed the ravens and the squirrels and the blue jays. It's magic, it's our own little wonderland. And I think that whole elemental realm, tree spirits, fairies, are making a comeback, not that they've ever been gone, because we do need focus on the earth to save our little planet here. I People who aren't even in our craft, our practice, people are like real new agers, like, "Wait, I saw a gnome, they're real." Yeah,
Yeah.
they are. Focus down, take care of mom. We
It
gotta
no,
take mom.
it's true, and I'm like, even people, they don't understand how important it is, and I'm like, "How can you have a spiritual practice when you are not taking care of or tending to the biggest spirit?" It's like our planet, and I know it sounds very, like, hippy dippy, but I don't give a shit. Like, I love nature. I wanna make sure that our planet and our spirits and our trees and our water and animals are taken care of, because that's
We have
how
to.
else are we gonna survive?
We aren't. We have to, or we are if we don't take care of the planet, but, oh my god, you are just beautiful. I totally everybody, you've gotta check out this book, Blood, Sex, Magic. So, Bree, tell everyone where they can find you, websites where they can get your book, your social media, and any upcoming appearances you may have or book signings or anything. Our people are everywhere.
Yes, honey, I'm so excited. My book is available at every major location where you can buy books, every independent bookstore, support your independent bookstores. And you can find me at The Hood Witch on Instagram and thehoodwitch.com. I'm The Hood Witch everywhere. I know there's a bunch of people who we've gone through this, and I know you've probably been through it where it's like, on Instagram, there's been a lot of, like, imitators. My pages are verified, so you can find me on there, and I do have an upcoming event December 15th, oh, no, December 16th and 17th. I will be in Los Angeles at Open Eye Crystals in Los Angeles. We are doing a 2-day event. I will be teaching a workshop on the 2nd day, and the 1st day, we are doing a sip and sign. So we're gonna have lots of goodies and treats for everyone to come and have a cocktail, come and hear about the book, and I'm gonna be signing them. So it's gonna be a really great time just getting us in the spirit of the holidays and pre-winter solstice. So I can't wait to see you guys.
I'm coming, so come on down.
Yes, I hope to see you.
Yes, me too. Right in my town, and I'm in town that weekend. It's amazing, or the
Yay.
whatever those days are. You guys check her out. Bri Luna, Blood, Sex, Magic. The most amazing book, scrapbook, coffee table perfection. Every page is different. The it's yeah, it's all of it. So thank you so much, Bri, for bringing your magic to the witching hour.
Thank you so much for having me, Patty. I am so excited and I can't wait to connect with you in real life.